The game is the same, but some of the same players have changed. Congress and the President are facing off in another supreme spending showdown. If they don't agree on a funding bill by the end of September the 30th, much of government will shut down. This last happened in 2011 when Congress avoided a shutdown by passing a spending measure shortly after the midnight deadline hit. So who controls what happens this time? Well, let's take a look at the key players who will determine how this fight would end. Before you wonder about the Social Security check or selling off your stock portfolio in advance of a possible market crash, consider a couple of political realities in the current debate over spending. The Obamacare and the economy. First, there's a week to go before the deadline for Congress is either authorize more government spending for a new fiscal year that begins in October the 1st. Second, all of that political rhetoric and bluster is exactly just that, a bunch of words and posturing meant to bolster positions on either side of the debate. At this point, the congressional machinations in coming days are fairly clear, despite what one side or the other tries to portray the right thing to do, right? Third, this is really about elections. Like everything else in Washington, in the case legislator eyeing New Year's congressional election and the 2016 presidential vote are trying to appeal their political bases more now than working the compromise solution. So the next question is, how is this going to affect your life? Vacation, if you need to get away, well, you can't. At least not in national parks or national zoos or national museums. They all close. That's 368 National Park Services sites closed, millions of visitors turn away. Holidays, well, don't come to work if you're a federal employee. You're on furlough, so don't take time to celebrate. In previous shutdowns, everyone who stayed home was paid retroactively after peace returned to Washington. One big back down, the good news for you is that the man and the woman in uniform would continue to keep you safe. The bad news is that they must not be paid. They will be paid in IOUs. In January, it was discussed and introduced in legislation that would have protected pay the troops during a shutdown, but it didn't get anywhere. If you drive a car, they're gonna tax your street. So you may not be thinking a non-functioning government not need to pay taxes. So think again, the men will continue to collect taxes. US bonds will still be issued and other essential banking functions would go on. Just wait a second with the postman. You know that the whole neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom, or night, or thin, apparently the U.S. Postal Services works through shutdowns as well. So if you want a new drug, somewhat ironic, the Republicans want to defund Obamacare in exchange for funding the government. But the Healthcare Act at the center of this storm will continue its implementation process during a shutdown. So that is because the funds aren't dependent on the congressional budget process. Pass the ammunition, no so fast. A shutdown would affect the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive. The translation, if you need a gun permit, then you want to process quickly, it wouldn't happen anytime soon. In terms of money, if you own a small business and you need a loan for the government, you're gonna have to wait. If you were planning to buy a house and you needed a federal loan, you'll have to wait. If you're a veteran, you might have to make a few trips to the mailbox before that check actually arrives. And you're on the Social Security, however, don't worry. Probably the Social Security payments will be sent the last shutdown. President Obama expected to keep workers on the payroll to process these checks, but the question really is, do we have enough people to process these new benefits? Anything dirty, dingy, or dusty? Well, no one loves trash. But if you live in Washington, it is expected to pile up if there's a shutdown. There wouldn't be anyone to collect your garbage. Washington's budget has to be approved by Congress. No budget for the city means no trash collection. And according to Washington Post, DC produces about 500 tons of garbage each week. If you're proud to be an American, perhaps this is the biggest hit to be a collective psyche within the country. It is the largest economy in the world and a beacon for how democratic ought to work. To watch elected lawmakers engage in a high-stakes staring contest with no one willing to blink is no way to do business. A recent CNN opinion poll found that 51% will blame Republicans if the government closes its doors. The U.S. operated a budget since 2009 and has avoided a government shutdown with last-minute deals. It's been one stomach-turning sequel right after another.